Here are the top 5 players in turnovers per game in this past NBA season. In 5th, Nikola Jokic. In 4th, LeBron James. In 3rd, James Harden. In 2nd, Cade Cunningham. And in 1st place, Trae Young. Now you might think I'm crazy, but in my opinion, these 5 would also fall into my personal ranking of top 10 smartest players as well. But how? Aren't turnovers the biggest sign of a bad decision maker? Smart hoopers take care of the ball and don't make mistakes, right? Don't worry, we will get into all that. This exercise of categorizing the 5 levels of basketball IQ is for me to try and open your mind about what it means to be a smart basketball player. And in each section, I'll do some actual film breakdowns of that level hooper. So at level 1, we have the robotic hooper. Now to make a point, I'm just gonna spoil level 5, which is what I'm calling the genius hoopers. So if the top level are the geniuses, then shouldn't the bottom level be the dumbest players? In my opinion, no. I'd actually rather be a dumb player than a robotic player. We've all had teammates like this. In fact, you might even fall into this category. Robotic hoopers are like the wallpaper of the basketball world. They are elevator music, vanilla ice cream, you get the point. Basically, robotic players do their job and do what they're told. They run the plays, they have a very basic understanding of what a good shot is, what a safe pass is. Robotic hoopers don't make many mistakes, so coaches usually don't mind having them out on the court. But they also put no pressure on the defense and they are not threatening in any way. My high school coach didn't even really give us the chance to play like robots because we were always pressuring and trapping and playing in transition, so everyone had to be able to make quick decisions. I usually see this more on teams that run a lot of long, drawn-out plays. Worst case scenario is a team running the flex offense in 2025. That might actually make me throw up. And I remember this nearby high school we would play, Montgomery, would run this offense where they just passed the ball around and around and around until finally someone would get some sort of open shot. My senior year, when we only lost 4 games, I think we actually lost to them by 1 point. So that style could get them some wins. But I remember thinking, even at the time, how is this ever gonna set a kid up to play at the next level? Remember, as coaches and players, we should always be building for the future. And you basically give yourself no chance of reaching your potential if you play like a robot. Just be careful because a lot of robotic players will be told by their coaches or their teammates that they're very solid or they're a really good teammate. If you have big goals and dreams, then this might not actually be as much of a compliment as you think. Now let's get into everyone's favorite teammate, the dumb hooper. And I have a real soft spot for this kind of player. They tend to stick out like a sore thumb. They usually jack up inefficient shots and try fancy passes that might lead to turnovers. Every once in a while, they might make that highlight play, but for the most part, they're just a headache for their coach and the team. Here's why the dumb hooper isn't at the lowest level, even though that would seem like the most obvious placement. Every contested pull-up 3, every full court pass that gets picked off, and every weak side gamble leading to a backdoor cut is a learning opportunity. Unlike the robot who doesn't have any willingness to improve their IQ because they don't try anything at all, this player at least gives themselves the opportunity for growth. Now, opportunity is the key word here. If they don't have the proper guidance and humility, this player can quickly spiral. But I do think this is an important moment in this video to rewire your brains into realizing that making mistakes should not be seen solely as a bad thing. Instead, we should all be looking at mistakes as feedback. And feedback is the most valuable tool of all. That is why I rather be dumb than robotic, because at least I give myself a chance to reach my potential. This is a great example of being dumb in a positive way. I have a slowed down transition opportunity here, so I try to attack. Unfortunately, the defender I'm going at, Ryan, is known for taking charges. It was actually all over his scouting report. This was a dumb play that had great intention, and although it led to a turnover, it also easily could have resulted in an and one. It's a perfect play to go back and watch and learn from. Also, I'm not even sure this was a charge to begin with. Don't fear being dumb. We all start there at some point, we just don't want to stay there for too long. So if a player starts learning from those mistakes, they can reach level 3, the intuitive hooper. This is the player who just feels the game. They have a natural gift for seeing plays develop a split second before everyone else. They're the ones throwing no-look passes that seem psychic or making a cut to the basket the exact moment the defender turns their head. They make their teammates better simply by being on the court, creating easy opportunities through their high-level understanding of spacing and timing. Like on this rebound where I immediately am looking up the court and getting my guy Ryan an easy layup. Most dumb hoopers just aren't finding this pass because they aren't looking for it. I see a lot of primary ball handlers falling into this category. First of all, anyone can be a point guard or a ball handler at the high school level. Your height should not matter. But smaller guards tend to feel like it's their job to get everyone else involved and make plays for their teammates, which on paper is great. The best example of a player like this in the NBA would be someone like Rondo, but even that doesn't really add up. In his prime with the Celtics, in college, and certainly in high school, he was doing so much more than just using his intuition. But in the later years, like in Dallas, Rondo was hyper aware of where every teammate wanted the ball and was always 2 steps ahead of the defense. Now, intuition is something I have always relied on. For a lot of my high school career and most of my college career, this was the level I hovered at. I think this is a great example of my strength as an intuitive player. First, I use a bit of a cheat on this post up and grab my man to get the steal. Then again, my head is immediately up, and in transition, I throw this pass ahead of Braden, who's extremely fast for a layup. Not much thinking went into this sequence, but it resulted in a crisp, easy bucket for our team. Or here, slow in transition, I hit Jeff, who is trailing the play, and tell him to come back to our side. Then, when Oliver backdoors, I pop back out. I'm very patient, waiting for Big Jeff to change the angle of the screen so my defender can't go under, and then I hit the weak side shooter for a 3. This is such a simple play, and yet if I hadn't waited for Jeff to change the angle of that screen, there would have been no advantage. Here's the key difference between level 3 and what comes next. The intuitive hooper is often reacting to the defense. They are masters at capitalizing on mistakes the defense gives them. They see an opening and they take it brilliantly, but they don't necessarily create those openings themselves. They're playing the game at a high level, but they're still playing the game that the defense presents to them. This is where things get truly dangerous. Level 4, the manipulative hooper. This player doesn't wait for the defense to make a mistake, they force the defense into a mistake. They use their eyes to move defenders, they use hesitations to get a big man off balance, and they attack angles that force a help side defender into an impossible choice. This player's IQ is a weapon for their own scoring. Think of players like DeMar DeRozan or Kawhi Leonard. They are geniuses at creating advantages for themselves. Like, watch Kawhi here. First, he calls for the switch to get the weaker Jamal Murray on him. Great scorers are always hunting mismatches. Then he hesitates, waits for Aaron Gordon to take a step up out of the driving gap, and uses his size and physicality to score over Jamal. Although it might not seem like it because we don't tend to think of scoring players as high IQ, but every movement here was calculated. His high basketball IQ directly translates into points on the board. And these players can single-handedly win you a game because they are such an offensive threat. Here's a great example of me manipulating the defense. As we run our secondary break, I trail the play, realizing no one is matched up to me. On the catch, I read there is a long closeout, so I use a quick peek at the rim to get the defender to lunge at me, allowing me to get by and use a small hesitation to beat the help and get a layup. There are about 5 micro decisions that went into this play and got me that easy score. The reason this manipulative or scoring player is at a higher level than the intuitive player is pretty simple. Elite scorers have a better chance of playing at the next level than elite passers. This is true for high school kids trying to play in college or college players trying to play pro. If you can use your intelligence to get a bucket, you are highly valuable. And that brings us to the top of the mountain, level 5, the genius hooper. The genius is the ultimate combination of the previous levels. They don't just manipulate one defender to score, they manipulate the entire defensive system to create an advantage for their team. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm some genius hooper, although I do really value my basketball IQ. But in my 5th year of college, in the Patriot League Championship, I had a triple-double. And that was a game where I really felt like everything was in my control offensively. On this horns pick and roll, there was a lot of processing happening. I must first read the big defender who's in drop. I'm a threat to score on ball screens, so he has to step up. Next, I'm reading this guy who is in between Ryan, my shooter, and Keegan, my big, who is rolling. I'm able to use my eyes to force him back to Ryan, leading to a no-look pass to Keegan for an easy layup. This is a high-level play and read that takes years and years of playing in ball screens to be able to make. Let's look at some other examples of a real genius at play. In this first clip, Jokic has the ball in transition, and instead of pushing all out, he goes at his own pace. He waits to see how his defender is going to guard this little transition drag screen and then settles into a 3. The next play, after he just hit that 3, when he catches on the wing, he uses a shot fake to just pause Rudy for a second, then drives middle where there is open space and gets to his little fadeaway. Everything is happening at his pace and how he wants it to because he's deciding it all. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Tucker, Jokic is 7 foot. Of course he can do all that. Fine, then let's look at someone who is a full foot shorter. Trae Young, who, like I said before, led the entire NBA in turnovers per game last season. Well, I don't care because Trey is a certified genius hooper. Here, he catches way up high and calls for the little go screen. Because he's such a great passer, this ball fake gets both defenders to go flying, but he's picked the ball up. And here, most players would be stuck. Not Trey. With 11 seconds left on the shot clock, he lets it fly from the logo. See, guys like Trey have it all. The creativity and willingness to try things like the dumb hooper, the feel and instincts of the intuitive hooper, and the aggressiveness to score of the manipulative hooper. They are able to put it all together for one purpose, to completely break the defense. These guys see the game in 4D. They are not playing the current play, they are setting up the next two. And this is why they're at the top of the turnover list. They are attempting passes and plays that no one else would even think of trying because no one else sees the game on their level. And this is why a high turnover rate is not always a sign of a bad decision maker. I remember in high school, I would have a lot of turnovers because I saw an opening or opportunity that even my teammates didn't see. I was willing to take a risk if the end result meant an easy bucket. And sometimes the result was a bad turnover that led to an easy score on the other end. But I was building that IQ and decision making that has helped me so much on the higher levels. Which leads me to the point of this entire video. Being a smart basketball player is not only about making the right decision, because basketball is a subjective game. If you focus only on making the right play, the play that won't lead to a mistake, you will never improve. So if you feel like you have a low basketball IQ, start from level 1. Well, actually not level 1. I don't want you to ever be a robot. Start at level 2. Be dumb. Make mistakes aggressively, not passively. Put yourself in as many decision-making situations as possible and give yourself the grace to fail. And if you want to learn more about things like basketball IQ, confidence, and recruiting along your basketball journey, think about applying to our Hacking Hoops community. It's a place to connect and learn from other players and parents going through the same thing as you. So check out this video's description for more information. And if you're in the process of changing your shot, check out this video on how I spent 12 years trying to perfect this one skill of shooting. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you, and I will talk to you soon.